Why hello there, and yeah, this is the third video I'm doing on this series. At this point, you probably think that I have a problem with the Grisaia anime. Well, you do know that I have a very clear logical argument against that idea. You see here that, well, the best thing is, if you need to look at it, yeah. You know what, forget it. It may not come to shock you that I was really hyped for this anime. The Fruit of Grisaia was a beautiful drama that focused on the troubles of the characters mixed with its very dark and sympathetic nature to make the anime absolutely outstanding. The follow-up short The Labyrinth of Grisaia for the most part followed this trend, but that said, how well did the Eden of Grisaia hold up? To be honest, it was exactly what I was hoping for. All of the problems I had with the other ones have been greatly reduced, along with the story staying focused on the characters mixed with its brilliant use of drama made this anime a worthy successor. The anime picks up with where it left off, with telling more about Yuji's childhood, how he was raised in part by a woman named Asako, and about the rest of his life, which eventually leads to the show being picked back up in present day. Unlike in the Fruit of Grisaia, Yuji has the most focus, and they take full advantage of that. He goes from being an already good, uniquely cynical and interesting character to being extremely sympathetic, complex, and loaded with meaningful development. Thankfully, he still has that extremely defining sarcastic personality with several unique and humorous lines.
Hey boy! お前はどんな悪さしてきたんだ?
両親を殺した。
マジかよ。
もちろん冗談だ。
Oh, Yuji, joking about parenticide to bring definability to your character. Anyway, getting back on topic, now on top of that, he has an amazing backstory and drama throughout the whole story. The best thing about Yuji is how the portrayal of his mindset is interesting, sympathetic, and most importantly, perfectly paced and justified. The anime just doesn't have him do a sudden change in his personality, but instead they show a far more realistic progression. He is first presented as caring about pretty much nothing, but as time goes on, he grows a very believable bond with those around him by going from smaller interactions to larger, more meaningful ones. When Yuji gets a puppy, they give time to show him getting invested in the puppy, which drives out his happiness and innocence. When Asako takes care of Yuji, they give them moments and scenes to justify their connection. Even though some of the things she does are kind of crazy, Asako helps to shape Yuji's outlook on life and directly addresses what is troubling him. She really has this admirable sense of honor that she's able to create, probably because she's one of the few people who can actually understand Yuji to an extent. Even some of her more obvious flaws help to give her a likable personality, from anything at her failure at some of the more basic parts of raising a child or how she self-mocks her love of alcohol. As Yuji shows signs of becoming happy again and we are given time to just enjoy the two being together, it becomes extremely easy to find yourself invested in things just staying this way. Therefore, whenever something happens to them, the anime is able to create some amazing investment because us the viewer has a very strong reason to care about their bond. And once again, there is nothing the anime is afraid to crush to pieces in the name of great drama. Just like the other Grisaia anime, it uses strong investment to create intense drama as it never halts to go to extreme lengths to make dark struggles for Yuji to face. Every time he is pushed to the edge or crying, you know exactly why it is happening. Even though Yuji is mostly a cynical character, the anime isn't afraid to break him down and have him show a full range of emotions, which made him feel so much more like a real person. Whenever something happens to him, the anime just doesn't quickly forget about it, but rather everything that happens to Yuji is shown to have a lasting effect on him. This can be shown in having Yuji roaming pointlessly on a motorcycle to collect his thoughts or going back to visit a grave. Just like a real person, everything that happens to him changes who he is and marks him throughout his life. He can go from having no reason to live to having purpose to questioning life and back again, and all with the justification to give his feelings believability. This, mixed with how sympathetic, interesting, and meaningful he is, easily makes Yuji one of my new favorite protagonists of all time. Now, it's a little hard to talk about the rest of the characters because they're not as important to the anime as it mostly focuses on Yuji, especially since not all of them are even plot relevant. Although the major advantage this anime has over its predecessor is that all the girls from Mihai Academy have already been cemented as excellent characters. They have meaningful backstories, genuine interactions, and believable development, so we already have a strong reason to care about them. But nonetheless, the anime still contains good interactions between them that help to show their personality. All of the other side characters for the most part also get some good jokes, lines, and or actions that help to separate them apart and give them some personality. The character of Thanatos in particular had some great exploration and a clear sense of intelligence that is shown throughout the story by the amount of thought that is put into whatever the character schemes up. The anime also takes time to go back and expand on some of the backstories with the same great character-focused emotional drama that I've come to know this anime for. However, overall, what really helps these characters is their interaction and bond with Yuji. as the story plays off their importance to him and they can create investment by helping the easily sympathetic Yuji. So let's talk about the story. Unlike the rest of the Grisaia anime, this one seems to have a pretty good sized focus on action as well as drama. If you remember back in the day when I was rambling on about what makes action good, where I basically summed it up as being focused on affecting the characters, thankfully this anime is another example of that, which is ironic because I used a picture of Yuji for the thumbnail. The show never solely focuses on how big of an explosion they can pull off, but rather the action helps to highlight the characters and create tension. For example, right before a big action scene, the anime creates suspense by having an elaborate plan set out, marking it as important, along with giving out scenes to reinforce why the girls care about what happens to Yuji and worries about what his fate could be, and all with some good emotions. Combined with this, the anime introduces elements that make a good ending seem less likely, which in turn threatens the well-developed characters that the viewer has a reason to care about and hence care about the conflict. Another important part to the quality of the action is that it pushes the characters to their mental or physical limit. In particular, the way it has a very strong mental effect on Yuji is especially noteworthy. It's not just solely if he can kill villain number 73, but rather elements like if Yuji can overcome the psychological trauma of his past makes for a very interesting, psychological, and intense action scene. Not only was the action great, but it was also used to help further Yuji's psychological development. Now, let's go slightly off topic and talk about the animation, because I really don't think I've done that thorough of a job in the past of expressing my love for the animation. The characters themselves have a pretty subtle change of color on them, which really makes their designs pop. Also, the backgrounds have a good amount of detail put into them with nice textures, smooth lightings, and some strong highlights and shadows. All of this mixed together with appropriate environmental lighting gave every scene a very nice appearance. However, the animation isn't just good for the art direction alone, since when it wants to show an action scene, it's very impressive. Obviously, like I said before, the quality of an animation can't sell a meaningful action scene by itself, but good animation is always appreciated. They were able to get some great angles with fluid animation to really give the scenes a sense of scale and a grand epic nature. When there's a knife fight, it looks like an actual knife fight. When they fire a bullet, you get to follow it through the air. Furthermore, even though the anime is only 10 episodes, they went back and redid the opening, and both times the openings were fast, slick, had great movement and angles, along with multiple shots to keep the opening from getting stale. Overall, the animation had great production value that goes above the average anime in several ways. However, as much as I love this anime, it's only fair that I bring up some small problems with it. But take note that I said small, because thankfully they were never persistent enough to actually become something that would really damage the anime. Yes, there's unfortunately a few pointless panty shots that have absolutely no reason whatsoever to help the story, are glaring to the tone, and blah blah blah, you all heard this before. Not to mention, there's still one scene that tries to pull off a really perverted joke by just having the punchline being, haha, looks like they're doing something really perverted, where it only relies on childish perverted shock value rather than playing off the characters or any sense of comedy. Now, don't get me wrong, because this is definitely something I would have very much liked to have been scrapped, but only having about 3 panty shots and only one solely perverted joke is nothing to freak out about. Setting this as anything other than a bothersome nitpick would be very unfair to the rest of the anime. Actually, compared to the Fruit of Grisaia, whose beginning had way too many panty shots and a handful of thoughtless perverted jokes, this is definitely an improvement. Other things like the comedic misunderstanding in Yuji's exposition for rushing along the story are completely absent, as his narration is more so used to explain his mindset. Even though I do have some problems with this anime, it's definitely nice to see it has improved on some of them. So it might not come to surprise you that once again, I am a really big fan of this anime. Out of all 3 of the Grisaia anime, I have to say that this one is my favorite. However, that might not be that fair of a statement because the major advantage this anime had was that it came before the rest. All of the main characters had a sympathetic backstory, powerful drama, and/or a great personality with several notable lines. But the way the story handles and builds on the changing mindset and sympathetic struggles of Yuji is very engaging and intelligent, and gives him several great elements that strongly strengthen his character. Even the less important characters still have a focus on their mindset and reasons to care about them. And all of this is with a presentation that is absolutely beautiful and problems that don't even weigh in for much more than a minute. In conclusion, I was shown yet again that this anime is above the cut and definitely worthy of being one of my personal favorites. Hello there, unexpected victim. Welcome to Enslate, where I will slate you, whatever. Are you ready for the videos? Because they're coming like 'em or not. First up, we have Sonicano, How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, and Maria, the Virgin Witch. And just because you were here for the Grisaia stuff, hopefully, then I might as well give out the other two Grisaia stuff, like the Labyrinth of Grisaia and the Fruit of Grisaia. Let's put videos everywhere! Because maybe if I drowned you in them, you'll eventually just click on one of them, huh? Well, I guess this is the end of the Grisaia hype train, because now that I'm done reviewing all of them, I can finally stop talking. I can't even say that with a straight face. Stop talking about them. Yeah, right.